Welcome to Backstage Pass with Gail Davis, your invitation into the world of keynote speaking and event planning expertise. Join us as we pull back the curtain and dive into exclusive interviews with speaking industry experts. From seasoned speakers to master event planners, we're here to provide you with the ultimate backstage experience. Get ready to unlock valuable insights, tips, and strategies that will elevate your events and leave your audience inspired. Welcome to Backstage Pass. I am your host, Gail Davis, and today's guest is someone who brings the perfect mix of insight, energy, and entertainment to every stage that he steps on. Baer is a Hall of Fame speaker and global expert in business growth and customer experience, and one of the most dynamic voices on the speaking stages today. He's a seventh-generation entrepreneur who's written 7 best-selling business books. He's built 6 multi-million-dollar companies and advised more than 700 iconic brands, including Nike, IBM, and the United Nations. And if that's not enough, he also happens to be the second most popular, are you ready, tequila influencer and educator on the planet. So whether he's talking to businesses about speed, loyalty, or how to turn complaints into conversations, Jay delivers unforgettable takeaway, and today he's here to share some of that with us. So welcome, Jay.
Thanks so much, Gail. Always fantastic to be with you. Appreciate that kind introduction. Love the podcast.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I failed to mention that you're sort of known for the plaid jackets. Is there a story behind that, Jay?
Well, I guess, yeah, I have, 15, 17 different plaid suits. And it started many years ago because after you conclude the keynote presentation, you want people to be able to find you to ask questions, or maybe they want you to come speak at their event, et cetera, et cetera. And menswear is pretty similar, right? It's blue jacket, gray jacket for the most part. We don't have the same kind of vibes and options that you ladies have typically. And I thought, if somebody needs to find me in a sea of 1,500 people wearing basically the same outfit, there's got to be a way to do that. And so I got a kind of somewhat loud plaid suit, and it really worked. People are like, great suit, and now I can find you. And I'm like, interesting. So then I went to my suit guy, because I'm kind of a Frankenstein shape, so I can't just buy stuff off the rack. I got to have a suit guy. And I was like, okay, give me one that's a little crazier, and then crazier. So now, I hope it hasn't crossed over into parody, but now they get fabric books and they're like, well, normally we'd make curtains out of these, but Jay will make a suit out of it. So they call me and say, come on down. We got new plaids for you to look at. So it's become a calling card.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, speaking of wearing suits, you also wear a lot of hats, and you're an author, you're a researcher. As I mentioned, you're a tequila connoisseur, and probably one of the most respected voices in marketing and customer experience. So I'm curious, let's say you're on an airplane and you sit next to someone and they say, hey, what do you actually do? Or how do you describe that? Do you go through the whole litany, or what's your elevator pitch?
It's actually a really good question, because unlike a lot of people who are speakers, I do tend to have a different topic from time to time. I feel like my job is to be a presentist, not a futurist, to understand what customers want from your business today and how you can best compete in a very competitive global market. So I feel like what I'm actually good at is translating patterns into practical, actionable advice. And so what I do is a lot of research. I listen to customers quite a bit and then say, what do they need? And then how can businesses give it to them in a way that maybe their competitors aren't yet? So that's why in the past, Gail, I've done lots of keynotes on social media. I've done keynotes on content marketing and customer service and customer experience. And now I'm doing a lot of work on AI and its impact on customer experience and how it's bending the expectation curve skyward. So I usually tell people that I am a business author and speaker, but then they say, oh, you're a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins. And I'm like, not really. But I'll tell you this, Gail. If I'm on a plane and they're drinking, then I tell them I'm a tequila content creator, because that's a whole other thing. Then I know they're at least a part of the target audience, right?
This morning I was taking my dog for a walk, and there's a trainer that works with one of my neighbors outdoors. And usually I'm in, very casual attire, but I was dressed for the podcast, and they're like, "Whoa, where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to record a podcast." And they go, "What's the topic?" And so, I guess I was like you on a plane. I said, "Well, it's this marketing guru, this business guy, talks about growth, customer experience." But he happens to be the number two tequila influencer in the world. And that trainer said, "Gail, if he ever sends you tequila, call me. I'll come by and pick it up." I mean, he could care less about your other credentials.
It is unbelievable. So I have been in business for 30 years, right? As I've written a lot of books. I've
Uh-huh.
done, I don't know, 1,200 keynotes or something.
Oh
Um,
my.
and have hosted 1,000 podcast episodes of my own. So I've got a pretty significant body of work in marketing
Sure.
and customer experience. I get recognized on planes for tequila every week. I get recognized for 30 years of business stuff almost never. And I'll tell you what my favorite thing is now, Gail. I walk out on stage and I do a keynote and everybody's fired up, standing ovation. And then when I walk off stage, invariably somebody comes up to me and says, "When you walked out on stage, I was like, the tequila guy is here." And like they don't know that I do both. And it like blows their mind. Like it totally freaks people out. It's hilarious. But it is funny now, increasingly we're doing both. So when we
Yeah,
do events, we'll do a tequila class like I did for you at one point, and tasting like the night before my speech or the night after, which is really fun. And a lot of event organizers love that. You can do it for key sponsors or key employees or what have you.
it is so cool. I got to know Jay through our industry association, which is the International Association of Speakers Bureaus. And I love it, Jay, when you said, "I'm not a futurist, I'm a presentist," because that is obviously the reason you keep coming back to speak to our industry
Yeah.
association, because you always have new material that we need to know for now. And one of the years, Jay came in and he did, I don't know if that year it was AI or customer experience, but he gave his content. And then they're like, "Well, feel free, optional, haha, with our group, feel free, optional to come in and have a tequila tasting." And it's not, well, maybe you do know what to expect. It wasn't exactly what I expected. Jay's really gotten into this. And so it's a slideshow presentation of how tequila is made. It's a lot of uh, knowledge. It's a lot of content, I guess I would say, on
Yeah.
the topic.
Yeah.
And then, just like how you might go to a wine tasting or in Kentucky, a bourbon tasting, there's a flight of glasses and you get involved in the experience. And it really is cool. What's the largest audience you've done it for? Because I was starting to say, I don't know if it would work for
For
a
tequila
really large
tastings,
audience.
I probably see 150, 200 people. I mean, you could
Okay.
theoretically do it for any size audience. It's just the logistics of the glasses and the pours and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done it for 10 people in their living room, and I've done it for 150, 200 people in a ballroom. And we can make it work for anybody. But there's a lot to it. You're right. It's content rich. I mean, I could do a half day workshop on how tequila is made easily,
How'd
because
you
it
get
really is
into
that
it,
nuanced.
Jay? Just personal interest?
Yeah, so I'm from Arizona originally. I live in the Midwest now, but I'm from Arizona. Went to school in Tucson near the border, so we'd sneak across the border, when we were underage, the whole time we were undergrads, and living in that kind of culture. I mean, you understand being in Texas, like you're exposed to Latino culture in a way that you aren't in New Hampshire or what have you.
Of
And so
course,
you
of
kind of
course.
get into it a little bit by osmosis that way. But when I was in my mid to late 20s, before we had kids, I would go to a restaurant in Scottsdale. It's still there, called Los Sombreros. And I'd go with my best friend Tom, and we would go on Wednesdays and just sit at the bar. And there was a bartender there. His name is Steve, and he was super into agave spirits. This is 30 years ago, right? So this is long before mezcal, tequila really had any kind of major presence in the U.S. But he would pull down a bottle, like church starts now, and he brought this back in his underpants or whatever, and like the whole story of how it was made and who made it, and we were just transfixed. And so over a period of literally decades, I just started studying more and reading more and studying more and reading more. Then I started to visit Mexico, and now I've been to over 30 distilleries. And now we're lucky enough to have many, many, many tequila brands as clients. I mean, my business partner, Maddie, and I do a lot of consulting for tequila brands in addition to our work that we do for consumers with daily videos on Instagram and TikTok.
Well, since many of our listeners are probably here for your business content, as
I
much
don't
as
have to
I
be.
hate
You
to,
choose. Yeah. It's
I'm
choose your own
shifting.
adventure.
I'm shifting to
Press
to
1
your.
for more tequila content. Press 2 for customer experience.
Okay, so one of your most popular keynotes is "Time is Money,"
Mm-hmm.
and it focuses on responsiveness and how that drives purchasing
Yeah.
behavior. Why is speed like one of the number one, or can't be one of the number one? Is it the number one
It
differentiator
actually
in customer
is.
experience?
Yeah, it actually. We did as I often do almost every time when I do a new presentation, a new book. And I should say, talking earlier about having different topics and being a presentist, at the beginning of every year, I write a brand new keynote from scratch, like blank sheet of paper, because I have to know what is important this year. Like, how can businesses succeed this year? And you can't do that by saying, here's what worked 5 years ago, right? It's just the pace of change is too high. So it's always new material. And usually when I go through that process, we do a lot of first party custom research because I don't want it to just be Jay says this is true. I want to bring actual math to this. I mean, I am a Libra, right? It kind of comes with the territory. So we did a huge research project when we began that phase on the relationship between responsiveness and revenue. And it turns out that indeed speed is the thing that is most important to customers in most situations. Now, that wasn't always true. In fact, I tested it the first time, that same principle, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. And it wasn't true then. It is true now. And it's because all of us care about time more than we used to. There's a lot of reasons for that, pandemic part of it. There's other reasons as well. But a lot of things that we talk about, like the great resignation and quiet quitting and people wanting to work from home and not commuting and bleisure travel, which is when you take your kid to the conference and double dip the trip. It's the combination of business and leisure travel. Bleisure travel, that's a big trend.
That's a new one for
Individual
me.
baseball, right? They have a pitch clock now, so the games are faster. Like all these things are driven by the same trend, which is that we care more about our time and we treasure time. I'll tell you this, Gail. I believe that time is the only resource on this planet that we actually share equally. It's not money, it's not water, it's not food, it's not safety, it's not education, it's not clean air, it's not housing.
Interesting.
But time, every single one of us has 1,440 minutes a day. You can't make more, you can't buy more. It doesn't matter who you are. And so in this fast-paced world, we've all kind of come to the conclusion that what we do with that time matters. And consequently, if you give your customers time, they will give you money. If you cost your customers time, it will cost you money. So that particular presentation is all about how to do that. Very specific, as all my presentations are. There's a framework and things to do right away to actually outperform your competitors in the area of speed and responsiveness, which will gain you new customers and keep the customers you've already earned.
Audience does that keynote really land with?
Typically, business owners or managers, right? Franchisees, anybody who can make enough of a decision on a process that they can actually put into practice the things that I advise. If you're front lines or sort of mid-level in the organization, you will believe what I say and you'll be inspired by what I say, but you'll be frustrated because you won't necessarily be able to do anything about it.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Okay, let's talk about your keynote, quick, clear, kind.
Yeah.
You describe these as like 3 unbreakable rules
Mhm.
that get you customer loyalty. And I know
Yeah.
everybody cares about that. So
Yep.
what makes that so powerful in today's business culture?
So we've been talking about customer experience, and I'm throwing up my air quotes here, for I don't know, literally decades, right? Despite people like me giving presentations and writing books, customer experience, sort of customer satisfaction, if you will, is lower right now than it has been since 1974. So let's just think about that for a second. We have spent untold billions of dollars on customer experience. books, process, people, software, presenters, and it's worse than ever. And the reason that is true is typically when organizations talk about customer experience, they make it an attitudinal question. We need to be customer focused. We need to be customer centric. Yeah. Like nobody ever argues that. I've been doing this a long time. Nobody ever says, Jay, in our company, we don't really care about customers at all. Like nobody ever says that, right? Like everybody believes they're customer focused until they have to make a decision that requires them to put short-term profits aside in order to generate long-term customer loyalty. So we have the attitude part right. What we don't have is the actionable part. So this presentation, Quick, Clear, Kind, is all about actionable customer experience. And so essentially, we've done a tremendous amount of research on this point. And customers demand a lot, and we're just getting started on that regard. But they care most about three things. They want you to be quick, they want you to be clear, and they want you to be kind. Quick, clear, and kind. And if you can get better at those three things, you will lock in customer loyalty. But it can't just be like, yeah, we should be faster. Yeah, we should be nicer. The advice that I bring to stage, and we have a whole process that we teach in this presentation, is you've got to come up with three things, specific things, Gail, that you are going to stop, start, or change within 90 days to be 15% faster. Three things you're going to stop, start, or change within 90 days to be 15% more clear or less confusing if you're a pessimist. And three things that you're going to stop, start, or change to be more kind or more empathetic within 90 days. And that framework has now been put into practice by hundreds of companies very successfully, because when you actually do it, it really, really works.
Love that. So I'm going to ask the same question. What audience does that presentation most align with?
So that one works for sure for leadership, absolutely. But in particular, that one works great with anybody who's sort of in ops, because they're the ones who have to put this into practice. You're going to say, hey, change your systems so that you're going to be 15% less confusing. You need to have an executive sponsor of that idea,
Sure.
but doing it is going to be somebody who's kind of in the operation. It's not necessarily frontline, but definitely middle management and directors. Those kind of people love that because it gives them something they can actually bite into, as opposed to the COO saying, be more customer focused, which is useless advice.
You have a new keynote, the new loyalty landscape, and it really digs into AI and how AI is shifting customer expectations.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through this new talk? And again, what audiences can expect to take away and what audiences it's geared towards?
Yeah, this new one for now is more like the first one we talked about, where it's owners, managers, directors, leaders. And this particular presentation shows that, yes, AI is incredible. But right now, when you say AI, everybody is thinking primarily about generative AI, the ability to make a blog post in 10 seconds or, create a super fast clip of this podcast instantaneously, et cetera. And all that's amazing. But it's table stakes. Andy Jassy, who's the CEO of Amazon, just said this in an earnings call a couple of weeks ago. He's like, look, within 2 years, all generative AI will be commoditized. And he's exactly right. You will not be able to outperform competitors based on your AI tools because everybody will have the same tools, right? It's just not a defensible advantage. And in a fight against robots, when everybody has the same robots, the strategist becomes king. So in this presentation, we talk about, again, being a presentist, like what are we going to do with AI once everybody has it?
Right.
For example, we talk in this presentation about the monetization of capacity, which is the idea that, without question, every business, yours, mine, everybody listening, your business will be 25% more efficient within 2 years. It's just going to happen. Like using AI, you will have 25% more capacity than you have right now. So the question is, what do you do with that, Gail? Do you hire more people? Do you have fewer people and you keep the money? Do you enter new markets? Do you provide a new bespoke concierge level service? Like what do you do if you work 40 hours a week and now all of a sudden you work 32 hours a week? How you use that 8 hours is going to be how the winners and losers in the near future are decided. So we talk about that in this presentation. But what it's about most of all, Gail, is the fact that AI is going to change customer expectations in ways that we can't even fully understand yet. If everything is super fast, if everything is super personalized, if everything is super predictive, where you get the email to tell you what thing's going to happen before it happens, etc., how, as a business, can you justify getting back to somebody in a day when everybody else is getting back to them in 3 seconds? So customer expectations have been escalating for years, but now they're going to escalate straight up because of AI. And how you capitalize on that is, I think, an existential question. Another example, increasingly, AI is not going to be a software package that you own. It will be a digital team member. It will be a digital colleague. And some of the things that you do at GDA will be done by these digital colleagues. So instead of having an org chart in your company, you can't have an org chart anymore. You have to have a work chart, right? You document the work that has to be done, not the people who do it, because some of the work will not be done by people. It will be done by people operating the digital colleagues, right? So you sort of rethink your map, and that has really significant implications as well. Huge HR implications as well, right? I mean, already 75% of hiring managers say that they're hiring fewer entry-level candidates because the entry-level jobs are the ones that are easiest to be done by AI. But think about what that means. If you hire fewer entry-level people, who are the managers in 5 years? And who are the directors in 10 years? And who are the VPs in 15 years? And who are the CEO in 20 years? If we're not careful, if we don't get this org chart to work chart transition right, we're going to hollow out the future of our companies unintentionally. And ultimately, we have to proactively insert empathy, human empathy, more than we ever have in the past, because the default trend will be towards efficiency in AI.
This is so thought-provoking. I love it. And it's interesting because you say you're a presentist, but you're planting some seeds for what that future is going to look like.
In this case, it's true. While most of my work really is presentist, this one I would say is near futurist. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. You know, there's a lot of people out there who talk about AI and here's what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years. Frankly, I think they don't know, but you got to take a stab at it. But I can tell you for sure what's going to happen in the next 2 years, and that's what this talk is all about: is understanding 2027 now and making the moves necessary so they're not caught unawares. I think it's a really timely and important topic that everybody needs to be thinking about, because otherwise you turn around, you're like, wow, the world changed underneath my feet.
You know, years ago when I had a corporate life, I was a corporate recruiter and I worked for EDS, and we had been acquired by General Motors. And we were so proud of the fact that that year we hired more people than the U.S. Army recruited. We just thought that was so cool. And I was on an airplane and I, babbled that off to the guy next to me and he goes, wow, have you all thought about what it's going to look like in 2 years? I was like, no, what do you mean? He goes, what's going to happen to your culture? That's a lot of influx.
Yeah.
Is there a plan? Is there going to be a mass exodus? I mean, he just asked all these questions. And so I love, deal with the present. And it is kind of a stab in the dark in the way future. But man, you got to really think about these massive seismic changes and what it means next year.
Yeah. I mean, I was at an event last week and there's a lot about these topics. And somebody was saying that their HR department literally is set up to manage AI as if they were human workers, right? You actually have
it's random, but I love it. And I love your idea of the org chart. You're a digital colleague. I love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about these different keynotes and their specific audiences. In general, when you look at your year, what types of events are you speaking at? Is it, I know in the January timeframe, we've got all the global sales
Hmm.
kickoffs, and then we kind of move into incentive season, which I'm
Yeah.
thinking if anybody's going to Mexico on an incentive trip, they need to bring you for. I've
Bring me
got an
in.
idea there.
Yep.
And then there's always leadership meetings, but
Hmm.
for people that are listening, they're event planners.
Hmm.
Where should they be thinking about? Yeah, they know the audience, but what kind of an event should they think of
Yeah.
you for?
So I do a lot of internal corporate events now, right? So
Okay.
I did one recently with all of the NBC Universal leaders for the whole world, right? I did
Wow.
one recently for all the Otis Elevator leaders for the whole world. A lot of corporate leadership sessions, but then also a lot of associations that are very homogenous. So I just did the New York Credit Unions Association last week. So a lot of those kind of events, either homogenous associations or kind of corporate leadership, franchise meetings, that kind of thing, where it's all the RBs or what have you. Those are the ones that I tend to visit the most. But as somebody who has been a consultant and a strategist far longer than I've been a speaker, I customize stuff way more than most people in this field. So it doesn't really matter. Like, it's going to be great regardless. And if it's all small business people who own gardening companies, got it, no problem. Because I'll actually go interview 10 people who are in their organization to find out what really makes them tick and then customize it accordingly. So to me, that's the part I actually like the most because it is consulting. I'm just standing up and holding a microphone.
Oh, I love that. Um, I wish I could be in every single speaker's audience because my favorite thing, not only watching you on the stage, but I like to just stand near a speaker when they come off stage because I
Mhm.
like to hear what are the people coming up and saying? What are they asking? So don't feel like you're bragging on yourself. I want to know what usually do people say when they wait in line to come up and approach you after you have given a speech?
Yeah, the thing that I hear the most is thanks very much. We've been thinking about these issues, but we didn't know how to put it into practice.
Okay. So it's practical.
Yeah, which is for me, like, it is the one thing I will never yield on. If you hear a Baer presentation and you can't immediately start work on it tomorrow, I have utterly failed. And you want to hear a presentation from me like that because I will never give one. If you can't look, let me say it this way: I want the audience to have a great time, and I promise you they will. But I don't really care. What I care about is that in 6 months, are the people in the audience actually making money, saving money, or both because of what I told them? And isn't that the reason to have somebody like me out anyway? Otherwise, this is just an arts and crafts exercise, right? I'm not a juggler. I'm not a comedian. I don't work with props. I don't have a parrot. I'm here to make your people smarter and better. And so the proof point of that is not in 45 minutes or 60 minutes. The proof point of that is down the road. But the only way you can deliver on that, Gail, is to give people things they can actually do. And that's not just ideas and inspiration, it's ideas, inspiration, and an actual, like, go do this action plan. So when people spit that back to me when I walk off stage, then I know I've done my job.
That's awesome. Do you ever offer any follow-up items? Because you were
For sure.
saying the proof is later. Talk to me about some of the add-ons or follow-up that
Yeah,
you've
a lot of
done
times
with
we'll do
these.
follow-up webinars with
Okay.
events and say, okay, let this sink in, start putting this system into practice, and then
Mhm.
4 weeks later, we're going to jump on a webinar with Jay. You can ask more thoughtful questions at that point, and then we'll kind of see how you're doing on the process and course correct, etc. That actually works really, really well.
Yeah. Someone brought that to my attention yesterday. They were like, it feels like it's a missed opportunity, Gail, if you're just booking speakers. What's that next step?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there
I'm
are
glad
obviously
to
speakers who will do like a weekly video, those kind of things. I don't typically uh, do much of that, but having a series of follow-up programs. In fact, sometimes we'll actually do for organizations and events that have awards, right? The chairman's award, the CEO award. We'll actually do, okay, next year Jay's going to come back and we're going to give out a quick, clear, kind award, right? For the person who did the best implementation of Jay's customer experience advice. Or we'll give a Talk Triggers award for the best word of mouth idea. That's one of my other presentations about word of mouth marketing, which I should say, it's a great time to do that presentation if anybody's interested, because word of mouth is more important today than it was yesterday. It will be more important tomorrow. It will be more important every single day that you draw breath. And here's why, Gail. Word of mouth, actual human recommendations, where I tell you something out of my mouth hole and you hear it into your ear hole, is the only, and I mean the only thing that AI can't fake. The value and power of authentic human referrals and recommendations is going to grow in importance dramatically. So being able to activate those conversations amongst your customers is a really important strategy. And obviously, we've got a presentation and a whole book on that topic.
Well, how do you activate that?
You got to do it on purpose. See, the mistake that people do about word of mouth is, and this has been happening for decades, business leaders believe incorrectly that competency will create conversation. It does not. People don't talk about good. Let me tell you about this restaurant I went to last night. It was good. Nobody ever says that, right? Because that's what the money was for. Like, it's a restaurant, you expect it to be good. We talk about things that are unexpected, and we don't talk about things that we expected. So if you're going to activate word of mouth, we call it a talk trigger in my world, you've got to do something that people don't expect, right? It's the thing that you do on purpose that is designed to create conversation. So, for example, the chocolate chip cookie you get at DoubleTree hotels, right? It's a great cookie. They give out 75,000 cookies a day worldwide. And we did a whole research project with Hilton on that point. A third of their guests, 1/3 of people, tell somebody a story specifically about the cookie within 30 days of leaving the property. Now, not coincidentally, DoubleTree spends less money on advertising than any other hotel in their competitive set because the cookie is the ads and their guests are the marketing department, right? You never say like, hey, I went to this hotel and it had a bed and a shower and a toilet. Like, that's not a story, right? So if you want to create word of mouth, you have to give people a story to tell. And that story is never the actual product or service that you sell because that's what the money was for, right? Like, it'd be like no one's going to tell a story about you booking speakers because you book speakers, right? It's the other thing. So for me, it's the plaid suits and the doing the tequila. Like, that's not an accident, right? It's a story that people tell. You mentioned it in the introduction. It's not an
And
accident.
I didn't even know I was going to, but there's an audio component to this podcast. I saw
It's a
the plaid suit and
strategy.
I'm like,
It's a strategy, not an
I know,
accident.
and I'm like, Jay, you're always wearing a plaid suit. What's the story? I love it.
Word
I
of
love
mouth
it.
on purpose, not word of mouth on accident. That's the
Awesome.
secret, and it really is a strategy with tactics and measurement and math, and it's not just like, hey, let's rent an elephant and walk it down Main Street. Like, there's a whole system that we teach.
Another role that I have seen you play very effectively is that of an MC. So I'm curious, is that
Yeah,
just because of IASB or is that something that you often do?
no, it's probably my favorite thing, actually.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
talk about it.
it's probably my favorite thing to do. I don't do it as much as I used to, um, just because it's a lot of days typically off the calendar. But because I've created so much content, I've hosted so many podcasts, and I'm just really comfortable with the business side of things. Being able to weave together a consistent narrative in an event, and do that in real time, and then interact with guests and interview them and all those kind of things. It is an absolute joy and a privilege to do it. I've done MC work for events as large as 20,000 people, where it's a pretty serious production, and then smaller ones as well. Oftentimes, because I can do both, right? I'll do a keynote and then host the whole thing, or I'll do a keynote and a tequila tasting and then host the whole thing. So the nice thing is if you're trying to be like, hey, let's be slightly more efficient with our dollars for this event, I can do multiple slots where you might typically need one person times 3 different slots.
Excellent. This is behind the scenes or backstage pass. And as I was coming to work today, I thought it would be interesting to get your take on something that I know is often confusing to event planners.
Okay.
And that is kind of our relationship. I know you're a marketing guy, so you understand channels, and you also have an amazing manager. She's one of my favorite in the industry. But as a speaker, can you share with event planners who are trying to make sense out of all the people,
Mm-hmm.
Why does a speaker have a manager, and what role is that? And why do you work with multiple bureaus, and why is that? And who should the event planner go to if they're looking for the most direct path? Because I
Yeah,
think
that's a
there's a
great
lot of
question.
questions about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, my experience is just my experience. There's a lot of different ways to work in this business. It's just the way that I've chosen to work. So I have been with Michelle Joyce of Michelle Joyce Speakers now for close to a decade, and so she and I have really built my business together. And why I choose to have a speaker manager is that she can manage relationships and circumstances and scenarios and opportunities in a way that it would be very difficult for me to do myself, because for the entire time that I've been a speaker, I have also had either a global strategy firm or now a very significant tequila business. So if I was only doing speaking and had no other business interests, could I do some of the things that a speaker manager does? Yes, but I wouldn't want to. Why would you not want somebody who spends their entire time building relationships and understanding what's possible in this industry? So I would never go it alone. But then, of course, I work with you and a number of other bureaus who bring opportunities to Michelle and therefore to me as well. So sometimes people come directly to Michelle, and then she'll bring it to me. Sometimes they come to me and then I give it to her to negotiate the opportunity. Sometimes it comes from you to her and then she negotiates on my behalf. But we prefer having as many relationship touch points as we possibly can. And that's why we love working with you and really the whole industry.
Excellent. Okay, Jay, it's about time to wrap up. We started with tequila.
We can end with tequila too. That's
And I think we
absolutely
should
fun.
end with tequila. So, what has been your most unexpected reward of incorporating the tequila into your persona? Because we had Jay with the plaid suits, and we had Jay with the content, and now we've got this tequila.
Most unexpected reward. I guess I would say this. We talked a moment ago about my manager, the incredible Michelle Joyce.
Yes.
There were some conversations when we got into the tequila business, like, hey, do we think this is going to be a problem for meeting planners? And I suppose there's a segment for whom they would feel it's inappropriate, etc. But generally speaking, it has been wildly successful as a differentiator, as a word of mouth device, as we talked about earlier. Like, there are other people who speak about similar things to me. But there's nobody out there who's going to give you truly a world-class tequila education at the same time. And so people actually remember it now in a way that they might not remember me just because of what my topic is, et cetera. So as a marketing device for my own business, it's been really successful. And we certainly didn't know that was going to be the case. I had my suspicions as a word-of-mouth expert, but it's worked out really nicely.
Well, Jay, I can't thank you enough for being here. I'm just reminded that you have so much rich content and so much experience, and you're so generous to share it with our listeners today. So I really, really want to thank you. And for anybody that's listening, if this has sparked an idea and you'd like to further have a conversation, clearly we've got the direct path to Michelle Joyce.
Absolutely.
So
Call
give us
Gail.
the call,
Yeah.
and we'll do our absolute best with empathy and all those fabulous
And
human
speed and clarity.
and speed. Oh my gosh, we'll be very fast, we'll be very empathetic, and we will get you what you need to get Jay Baer on your
Right.
next stage. So thank you, Jay.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for not only this opportunity, but all the other opportunities over the years. We love working with GDA, truly one of the greats. So it's a real honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Backstage Pass with Gail Davis. Tune in for more exclusive interviews and pro tips to elevate your events. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts with us. We'll catch you next time behind the curtain on Backstage Pass.